I am the one known across the world as Slick Nick. And it is true, today's day number 3 of me having COVID. So I think it's important to document in real time what it's like to have COVID. Because up until 3 days ago when I was tested, I didn't know anyone in real time who actually had it. So for example, my parents had it back in like June. They didn't know they even had it until a month later when they took a blood test to confirm they already had it. So it's interesting to me, somewhat fascinating. I have COVID right now, even though I haven't really had conversations with people who had it in real time. So that's why it's important that I document what it's like day by day, symptom by symptom, etc. So on day number 3, I do want to say, here's what I'm experiencing. Whereas the first and second day was more about body aches, today it's more about congestion, sinus pressure late yesterday after I shot the video. Sinus pressure still kind of going on. Congestion as far as what appears to be phlegm going down into my chest and starting to cough that up. I noticed, strangely enough, last night, and I mean, I did everything I could to make sure I got to sleep, took the right medicine and things like that to get to sleep. But ultimately, my daughter woke up at like 1:30 and came in our bedroom. So we got her back to sleep, and then I was up for like 90 minutes after that. I couldn't go to sleep. And even like when it's time to wake up in the morning, I'm waking up very easily. So I'm getting just enough rest, but it's like I'm not really tired enough to really stay asleep. It's not like I'm drowsy, which kind of surprised me when you have COVID. I thought it's supposed to be flu-like. So it's interesting, lack of energy, yes, but not necessarily drowsy. So there's something to consider. Another thing that I'm noticing, it's like, imagine like whatever you see in life, like as you're looking at things, imagine if it were like a camera recording a video. There are moments where it's like it stops recording. So like, for example, I'm gonna try to imitate this. Like it skips a beat sometimes sporadically. So I'm noticing that. And also, for what it's worth, I'm not having much of an appetite today. My time right now, it's 1:25, which I do intermittent fasting anyway. So normally I wouldn't be eating till around this time of the day anyway. And I have had 2 cups of coffee, but just food is not something I'm thinking about. I am staying hydrated. And definitely I'm doing these right here. I've got a whole box of these Emergency, taking a couple of different of these a day. I'm a big believer in these. Some say it's just a placebo effect, but I personally am a believer in these for my vitamin C. So it's funny because I remember watching Joe Rogan several months ago with talking about COVID and how basically, I'm a conspiracy theorist, and but they were saying how doctors can't openly talk about natural ways to overcome COVID. They can only talk about medicine, as far as going out and getting exercise and sunlight and that sort of thing, which I don't quite have enough energy to exercise today, even though the sun's out. Maybe I will try to squeeze in a walk, but ultimately, I think by tomorrow, I'll have enough energy to go out on at least a 2-mile walk and just kind of get some exercise. Those are things I believe that are important. I'm not a big believer, let me rewind. I am not a believer in big pharma. I do not believe in taking prescription medicine in order to sustain my own health. I want to do everything naturally. That's very important to me. So I am taking like some Alka-Seltzer Theraflu or something like that, some kind of Alka-Seltzer pills. That's the extent of it, just to kind of get through the symptoms, make sure I get enough sleep. So what I think is important now that we're at the halfway point in the video is, and I think this is part of the fun in doing these chronicles, is that in real time, I'm going to look at the comments that came through from yesterday's video that I did when it was day number 2. So these are comments I've received. It was a little less than 24 hours since I last did one of these, but COVID Chronicles day 2, hard to walk straight, very sluggish, but I've had worse sinus infections. So since posting that less than a day ago, 151 views, 13 comments, 13 thumbs up, and 1 thumbs down, which is funny because on day number 1, I also received a thumbs down. It's like, I don't understand what's to specifically dislike. It's like a guy doing a video talking about how he has COVID. Like, what, how does that negatively emotionally affect you to where it's worth it to click the dislike button? Like, that's hilarious that there's one person who doesn't like these videos every day. So thanks for the comedy on that. So let's look at these comments. So Andrew Moss, a longtime supporter of my channel, says, quote, "These COVID vlogs are really interesting, and it will be interesting to see how quickly you recover." I agree. That's one of the reasons I'm doing it. I mean, I started on day one. Day one was not only finally seeing the symptoms, but also getting confirmation that day that I had it. So today be day number 3. So yeah, some people say it'll be 2 weeks. I think there's a good chance by the end of this weekend coming up that I will largely, for the most part, feel a lot better. That's what I'm predicting. But he says, there's also the possibility of suffering with long COVID, meaning the symptoms are prolonged for many weeks or months afterwards, but I'm sure you will be okay. That reminds me of something I wanted to say in this video too, is what a convenient time to have COVID. You know, Christmas is still 2 weeks out, so I don't have to worry about not being around family. This is the ideal time to have this. It's like we didn't really have any plans these next couple weeks anyway, so it's just really not an inconvenience to have COVID. If I'm gonna have it, and that's the thing, I wanted to go ahead and have it. With my parents having it earlier in the summer, me being around them, I thought I already had it by default because I did have similar symptoms, but apparently I never actually had it. Of course, I didn't have the lack of sense of taste like I have now. So yeah, this is a convenient time to have COVID. If you're gonna get, and I wasn't afraid to get it, I just wanted to get it over with. What a convenient time. I should put that in the title of this video. The most perfect convenient time to have COVID. Okay. Bob, that's a new one. Bob says, "Hey, sorry to hear that. I'm sorry, you'll be better soon. I need your advice. I'm 15. I've noticed that my hairline receded, not only on the sides, but in the middle. My baby," yeah, he goes on to tell me this whole thing. What I'm gonna do for you, Bob, is just, I'll put a link right here in the description, and you can watch a video that will tell you the 5 questions that you're only focusing on one thing. There's 5 things you need to ask yourself. Watch that video and you can learn if you're gonna go bald or not, and then what to focus on. So make sure you check out the video in the description. That'll answer your questions. Stinky Cheese, speaking of, even when I don't talk about hair loss, my viewers must turn it into this. Stinky Cheese says, "Has COVID accelerated your hair loss?" Which that got 2 thumbs up. And Stanky FX, so there's a Stinky Cheese and there's a Stanky FX. Did they know each other? They have similar names. To his Darsh Shah said, "Doubt it. You tell me, here's my hair. Do you feel that my hair loss has been accelerated due to COVID?" I cannot say that it has. Declan Pereira is talking about that I should do ginger and honey and turmeric and salt water and gargling. Okay. Thank you. Again, I've already established I love anything kind of natural that I can do. And then someone had said on Tyler Woodard said, "Try having COVID and MS at the same time. Surprisingly, they both have similar symptoms." Man, I can imagine, and I'm sorry to hear that for you if you do. And then lastly with Blake Sking, he says, "I love your videos, Nick." Well, thank you. And as I've recently learned, if you like my videos, whatever they're about, if you do give it a thumbs up, it triggers the algorithm in YouTube so that I show up in more recommended videos for other people. So if you like what I'm doing here and want other people to be exposed to that, that's a way to help spread that. Your comments belong right here.